The capital of Meridian did not smell of horses or sweat. It smelled of death in the gutter. A child no older than 5 convulsed, her small body emptied by the filth she had crawled through. Kotaro stood frozen, a shovel in his hands, covered in the same muck that killed her.
This isn't just poverty. It's a design flaw.
In his past life, he had built water treatment plants. Here, he was a 3rd-tier sewer worker.
3 out of 10 children die before they can walk. And this city calls itself the jewel of the empire.
The mother's wail cut through the street noise. Another number added to the tally.
I can fix this. I know the physics, the materials, the system. I just need a chance.
But a sewer worker had no voice. No patron. No path to the throne. That night, Kotaro began mapping the city's underground with stolen chalk and a borrowed lantern. He crawled through the ancient tunnels, chalk in hand, measuring slope and flow with a plumb line and his own breath.
The gradient is wrong. No wonder waste pools in the lower districts.
On the 3rd night, his lantern fell upon a section of older stone, Romanesque arches still holding.
This wasn't built by current hands. Someone before understood gravity sewers.
He emerged before dawn, his notebook filling with calculations.
If I can connect these ancient conduits to a new trunk line, the system could flush itself.
Back in his cramped room, he spread out stolen parchment and began to draft.
Aqueduct from the mountain springs, gravity-fed to every district, and a treatment marsh downstream.
He tallied the cost in materials and labor, impossible for a sewer worker to request.
But if I don't, another child dies tomorrow, and the day after that.
An old sewer hand, coughing in the damp, let slip a court secret. The queen had lost 2 children to the bloody flux.
She's not just a monarch. She's a mother with a wound that won't close.
Her grief was the only key that could unlock the royal treasury. But he needed an inside voice. The eunuch, Cassian, was known to sell access. For a fee, he arranged private galleries with the powerful. Kotaro emptied his savings, 3 silver coins, and a copper medallion, and waited in the East Gallery at midnight.
The sewer rat who maps my tunnels. You have a bold scent for a man who shovels muck. 3 silvers. Enough for a winter's coal, in exchange for a quarter hour with the queen. She does not meet filth, but I will arrange a viewing gallery. You show your plans. I am merely curious. He'll do it. Not for me, for the coin, but it's enough.
The bribe was paid. Now he could only wait for the queen's summons and pray his plan was enough. 3 days passed. Then a slip of parchment arrived, Cassian's seal. The queen would see him at dusk. Cassian led him through gilded corridors to a small chamber heavy with incense and grief. Queen Alara sat by a window, her silver braids catching the last light. She did not turn.
Cassian says, "You bring a solution. Speak, but know my patience has been murdered by charlatans."
Your Majesty, the blood in the streets is not a curse. It is a consequence. One I can erase.
He unrolled the master plan across the marble floor. A network of stone channels, clean water, and a marsh drawn in ink.
You draw pretty lines, but my children are dead. Nothing in your scrolls brings back a single breath.
No, Your Majesty. But I can stop the water from taking another. Every mother in the lower wards is you, 3 times over.
She looked at him then, really looked, and something cracked behind her violet eyes.
Bring the king.
The doors groaned open. King Aldrich entered like a storm, his crimson robes dragging behind him like a trail of blood.
You, the sewer digger, my queen says you claim to end the flux. What makes you worthy of my treasury?
14,000 deaths in 5 years. Your Majesty, I have mapped the underground routes that would have that by next spring.
And the cost? Stone, labor, pumps. You think coins grow in the gutters you crawl through.
The cost of inaction is higher. 6,000 gold pieces now, or 30,000 in lost taxes and funeral pyres over the next decade.
The king glanced at the queen, whose silent nod held the weight of 2 tiny graves.
You will have your funding, but know this. If the project fails by winter's end, your head will join those graves.
The king unlocked a coffer, and handed over a sealed decree, provisional authority over all public works, signed in royal crimson.
Executioner's promise in one hand, salvation in the other. I'll take that bargain.
Kotaro stepped onto the balcony, the decree warm in his grip. The city sprawled beneath him. A dying beast he was now sworn to resurrect. Within a week, the capital echoed with the rhythm of progress. 600 picks biting into cursed earth. Kotaro stood at the edge, his voice hoarse from shouting over the clamor of breaking stone.
The clay pipes the guild supplies are uneven. If the joints don't seal, the whole trunk line leaks.
Nearby, an overseer's whip cracked against a lagging man's back. Efficiency through cruelty, the only method the guilds understood. Lord Vesper observed from his private balcony, a crystal goblet trembling with his rage.
A mud-stained commoner directing royal resources. This insult festers louder than the sewage he claims to tame. His success threatens the natural order. I will find the crack in his design and widen it.
But the mountain aqueduct faced setbacks. Loose granite, spring floods, and guildmasters who hoarded their best stone. Vesper watched the first pillar rise from his carriage window, his lips curling into a spider's smile.
Every pillar is a monument to his arrogance. A tall one crumbles easier.
At dusk, Kotaro sat cross-legged with the stone haulers, passing a loaf of dark bread and a flask of weak ale.
The aqueduct is ours. Every stone you lift, your children will drink from it.
But the guild overseers saw sweat as weakness. A whip cracked, and a young carrier stumbled, his back ribboned with fresh welts.
Strike him again, and I'll have your arm removed at the guild hall. Fear doesn't build aqueducts. Loyalty does.
That night, by candlelight, he shaped a clay diaphragm, a pressure sensor no one in this world had ever conceived.
If the pipe is breached, the mercury will drop. An alarm no one can silence.
He installed the first unit deep in the east trunk line, hiding it behind a false stone.
Sabotage will have a face now, recorded in pressure and time.
As he walked the line, a foreman grinned and clapped his shoulder. The men no longer saw a sewer rat. They saw their chief. The central trunk sewer was completed ahead of the winter rains. Clean water surged through the main artery for the first time at the new public fountain in Weaver's Square. Children cupped their hands, mothers wept, and the old men crossed themselves.
One fountain, 100 more to build. But for today, it's enough.
From the high palace window, Queen Alara pressed a handkerchief to her lips, her tears falling onto the sill.
If only you could have tasted this water, my darlings.
Below, in the shadow of a colonnade, Lord Vesper watched the celebration with eyes like winter glass.
The sewer rat is becoming a folk hero. This is no longer displeasure. It's a threat to the peerage.
That night, he summoned his cabal, 2 lesser nobles with vested interests in the old cesspit contracts. In a candlelit room, Vesper traced a finger along a map of the sewer layout, stopping at a junction near the noble district.
Here. A critical juncture. A few well-placed cracks, and his system will drown the High Lords in filth. That will turn them against him.
The court assembled under the great dome. Kotaro knelt, his leather vest visible beneath the fine blue coat.
For services that have spared more lives than any army, I create a new title. Lord of all engineers, rise.
A heavy scroll was placed in his hands, the royal seal still warm, the title inked into law.
The title I never dreamed of. But the real proof is still buried 20 feet under these marble floors.
Lord Vesper stood among the nobles, his applause a hollow echo, his smile a porcelain mask.
A title born from filth. It will die in filth.
After the ceremony, Kotaro retreated to a gallery, the silver chain of office cold against his skin.
Authority is a larger target. The nobles will see this as a challenge.
In his private chamber, Vesper hurled a crystal decanter against the wall. Wine streaked the marble like a wound.
The sewer lord will not survive the season. The plan is set.
3 nights after the ceremony, a cold moon hid the deeds below the cobblestones. In the sewer, mallets shattered clay and mercury mixed with trickling waste. A pressure spike went unrecorded. By dawn, The first fevered child was brought to the temple. Then another. The flux had returned to the noble quarter. Kotaro ran, not as a lord, as an engineer. The polished boots were caked in muck before he reached the Oak District. A woman was carried from her home, her skin pale as flour. The smell of sewage clawed out of the cellar grates.
This isn't overflow. This is a breach. Someone cracked the lateral pipe.
He descended into the access shaft with his chief masons. The stench confirmed it before the torchlight did. The pipe had been struck with a chisel, precise blows at 3 joints, not a collapse. A murder of masonry.
My sensor, it's in pieces. They knew enough to smash the diaphragm, but not enough to know what it recorded.
By noon, the court was a hornet's nest. Lord Vesper stood before the king, his voice dripping with manufactured grief.
Your Majesty, the Lord of all engineers has failed. His tunnel of promises now breeds the very plague he swore to end.
Murmurs rippled through the benches. 3 high lords nodded in agreement.
Where is the Lord of all engineers? Bring him now.
A royal page found Kotaro in his workshop, sleeves rolled, the shattered sensor pieces spread before him like a puzzle of ruin. He stood before the throne, still wearing his mud-stained vest, the smell of the sewer clinging to him like an indictment.
You have until this time tomorrow to prove this was not incompetence. If you cannot, the headsman will collect his due.
Back in his stone-walled workshop, Kotaro locked the door and lit every candle he owned.
The diaphragm is destroyed, but the mercury stains tell a story. The pressure dropped at a specific moment. I just need to reconstruct the timing. If I can match the fracture pattern to a clock, I'll know the hour of the crime, and that hour will have a witness.
Kotaro worked by lamp and chalk, piecing together the shattered diaphragm with a bone needle.
The mercury rushed out here, so the strike came first on the western joint.
He compared the spread of the stain to a water clock. He had improvised from a leaking jar.
The stain radius narrowed the time to a 2-hour window, but I need the exact hour.
He unrolled the guard patrol schedule for the Oak District. The night watch listed every rotation.
The shift change was at the 3rd bell. If the sabotage happened during the gap, no guard saw it.
He traced the patrol routes on the sewer map. One access shaft was unguarded for 20 minutes.
That's it. The pressure dropped between the 3rd and 4th bell. The break is at the north junction of the Oak Lateral.
He now had a timestamp and a location, but no face to attach to the crime.
Science can pinpoint the deed, but only a witness can name the hand.
Kotaro sat alone, the weight of the king's ultimatum pressing on his chest like a millstone.
Revealing the sensors is a gamble. The court could dismiss them as crude sorcery, but the queen believed in the plan from the start. Her grief is my only bridge to truth.
He drafted a brief note to Cassian, asking for an immediate private audience with the royals, knowing the eunuch would demand more coin. The eunuch met him in a shadowed garden corner, holding the note with a raised eyebrow.
You want another audience now, after the court has sharpened its knives for you? I have proof, not opinions. Hard evidence that someone broke the sewer deliberately. Proof is dangerous, but it can also be profitable. I will secure the chamber. Do not be late.
Cassian slipped away. Kotaro gathered his shattered evidence and his notes, securing them in a leather satchel. As the palace bells struck the hour, he walked toward the great hall, his life resting on a broken clay pot and a mother's grief. The great hall fell silent as Kotaro entered, the nobles' whispers hushed by the weight of the moment.
You have returned. Show us this proof before my patience expires entirely.
This broken clay is a pressure sensor. It was hidden deep in the sewer, and it recorded the exact moment the pipe was breached.
A potter's accident as evidence? This is a mockery of the court.
Ignoring the jeer, Kotaro unrolled a chart on the black and white marble, its red ink marking a sharp drop at the 3rd bell.
How can you know it wasn't a natural crack from age?
Because the chart shows a cluster of 3 sharp drops. Exactly the number of chiseled blows needed to rupture the pipe. No age crack would look like this.
A murmur rippled through the nobles. The king rose, his crimson robes billowing as he stepped toward the chart.
Send a squad to this Oak District Junction at once. Bring back whatever you find. If this is sabotage, I will have the hand that swung the chisel.
The squad leader bowed and departed. Kotaro stood still, knowing the next hour would either save his neck or tighten the noose. Within the hour, the squad returned. The captain held a scrap of torn purple fabric, still stiff with dried sewage.
Purple silk embroidered with a silver crest. Only 3 houses in the realm wear this cloth.
My secondary sensors downstream recorded a second pressure event later that night, post-sabotage. Someone returned to remove evidence. The second intrusion happened during the 4th bell change, precisely when the patrol schedule shows Vesper's personal guards were off duty.
You dare frame a high lord with scraps and water clocks? This is peasant superstition.
Silence. The crest on this cloth matches your house, Lord Vesper, and a witness places your steward near the Oak Junction the night of the break. You are under arrest for conspiracy and sabotage against the crown.
Guards seized Lord Vesper before he could protest. His cape tore as they wrenched his arms behind him.
This petty engineer has poisoned the court. You will regret this, Sewer Lord.
The great doors slammed behind him. The hall remained silent, the evidence laid bare on the marble floor. By the first light, the public square swelled with thousands eager to see a noble's fall.
Lord Vesper, your steward confessed the full plot under lawful questioning. The torn purple cloth and the pressure charts leave no doubt you orchestrated this outrage.
A forced confession. I demand trial by combat. Let the gods judge me.
Denied. The evidence is overwhelming. You are guilty of conspiracy and sabotage against the crown, a crime that has killed innocents.
The 2 lesser nobles were dragged to the block first, their heads already bowed in defeat, their crimes confessed.
For my lost darlings, for every mother in the kingdom who ever wept over a tiny grave, this is justice long overdue.
At the 4th bell, you will kneel before the headsman. Your lands, your titles, and your life are forever forfeit to the crown.
A mud-stained commoner's toy, a clay pot. This cannot be my end. I am a peer of the realm.
The system worked perfectly, but a man is about to die because of a pot I designed. I wanted to save lives, not take them.
The crowd's roar shook the cobblestones. The executioner stepped forward, testing his blade, the sentence hanging like a held breath. The first head fell with a wet thud. The second followed without a sound. Vesper was forced to his knees, the rank stench of the square clinging to his velvet doublet.
A sewer rat's toy. The peerage will remember. This is no victory. It's a symptom of a rotting kingdom.
The axe fell. A stripe of red bloomed across the wood. The crowd roared. As the bodies were dragged away, King Aldrich raised his hand for silence.
Let this be a lesson to any who would poison the well of progress. The title of Lord of all Engineers is now hereditary, enshrined in law forever. Where once there was filth, there will be fountains. Where there was death, there will be clean water, because one commoner dared to dig deeper.
Thousands of eyes turned to Kotaro. He stood still, his leather vest streaked with mud, his hands rough from the work that had changed a kingdom.
A commoner's origin is no longer a weakness. It's the foundation of a new order.
The crowd erupted, not for blood, but for the promise of water. The Lord of all Engineers had earned his name. The damaged oak lateral was rebuilt within 4 days. The chiseled joints replaced with seamless stone. Kotaro dispatched teams to every junction, each carrying a crate of clay diaphragms.
This network will see any breach before the saboteur's footprints dry.
A week later, the king summoned him to the throne room, a new scroll bound in gold in his hands.
You are now Royal Chief of Infrastructure. Every bridge, road, and aqueduct answers to you.
I will ensure no child dies from bad water again, Your Majesty.
His first act was to open a school of engineering, teaching masons the secrets of pressure and flow.
This knowledge will outlive me. The water will stay clean for centuries.
Within a season, Meridian's fountains ran so pure that merchants traveled weeks just to taste the water. From the palace balcony, The Lord of all Engineers watched a city that no longer smelled of death. By the next spring, child mortality in the capital had plummeted by 70%. The city's fever wards were half empty. A bronze plaque was affixed to the main fountain, bearing an inscription no one had expected, dedicated to the Lord of all Engineers, who turned a curse into a blessing.
A statue. Number. The clean water is monument enough.
Queen Alara summoned him to the royal garden as the cherry blossoms fell.
My own children could not be saved, but thousands now live. You gave me back a reason to smile.
Your Majesty believed when no one else would. That faith is the real foundation of every aqueduct.
She pressed the flowers into his hands, white camellias, the emblem of a mother's eternal love. From that day, every public fountain in Meridian bore a small camellia carving at its base. The Lord of all Engineers walked through the clean streets, his leather vest still dusted with mortar, his work eternal. He turned down a narrow lane he had avoided for 2 years, where a child once died in the filth. 3 small boys now kicked a leather ball. A woman drew water from a spigot in the wall. Clear, clean, cold. She did not recognize him. Why would she? He had been a mud-caked stranger that day.
My lord, you built the fountains, didn't you? My youngest is alive because of them. I helped with the pipes. The water did the rest.
She peered at his face, then at the leather vest beneath his coat. Her eyes widened.
You are him, the Lord of Engineers. She pressed his hands, tears welling. Thank you. This is why I crawled through filth and faced an axe.
He walked on, his stride lighter, the laughter of children ringing behind him like clean water. That night, fireworks splintered the darkness, gold and silver cascading over the clean river. Kotaro stood alone on the castle balcony, the water mirroring the bursts like liquid fire, a flicker of memory. A glass and steel office, a tablet glowing with pipe schematics, a hard hat on a desk, then dust, darkness, the horrible groan of collapsing rock, and his own hand clawing toward a shrinking light. Then a gasp, foul air, a straw mattress scratching his back. He was here.
I died a salaryman in a tunnel collapse and woke up to the city's filth. But I turned its fate.
The weight he had carried since that morning, the fear of belonging nowhere, finally lifted.
This is my world now. These are my people. The water I gave them flows with my second life.
The final volley erupted, a canopy of light stretching across the aqueduct's arches. He smiled. The engineer and the Lord now one, the past finally at peace. The next morning, Kotaro walked through the capital, his leather vest visible beneath his lord's coat. He stopped at the main fountain, its camellia carving catching the early light. Children shrieked with joy, splashing clean water at one another. A small girl, no older than 5, tugged at his coat and held up a simple daisy, dew still on its petals. He knelt to accept it. For making the water, she whispered.
Thank you, little one. I'll keep this with my plans.
He tucked the flower into his leather notebook, beside the first sketch of the aqueduct.
A single daisy from a child's hand, worth more than any title.
He rose and walked on, the city bustling healthily around him, a figure of calm authority. The Lord of all Engineers walked on, his work done, his legacy alive in every drop of clean water.